Beneath the world's most famous ruins lies a second, hidden world. This video explores the hidden chambers and subterranean networks that have remained in shadow for centuries. You will gain a completely new understanding of ancient civilizations, seeing their greatest monuments not as static stones, but as gateways to deeper truths. We will investigate why the builders of the Great Pyramid might have sealed passages within it, and what silent cities of the past still exist under modern streets. By the end, you will know how these secret spaces reveal the true ambitions and fears of the people who created them. What forgotten story do you think is waiting to be uncovered next? This fascination is etched into our oldest stories. Across continents, from the Maya to Mesopotamia, creation myths often begin in dark, subterranean worlds, places of potential and primordial chaos. These were not just tales for entertainment, they were maps of a universe where the unseen held profound power. A ruler's authority was visibly demonstrated by towering temples and palaces, but it was often secured in the silent, stone-lined vaults beneath them. Here, away from prying eyes and the elements, a kingdom's wealth could be stored, its most sacred rituals performed, and its leaders could move unseen in times of conflict. The legendary labyrinth of King Minos, a maze said to contain a mythical being, is a powerful metaphor for this idea. Historians suggest the myth may have grown from the bewildering, multi-level foundation of the real palace at Knossos, a place where corridors, storage magazines, and workshops created a literal underground world. For ancient people, building downward was an act of both practical genius and deep spiritual significance. It created a hidden twin to the world above, a protected realm for what society deemed most precious, most dangerous, or most divine. This enduring impulse to bury our most important things has gifted us a planet laced with forgotten rooms. Our modern quest to find them isn't just about discovery. It's about learning to listen to the silent language of the earth, a language our ancestors understood intimately. What secrets do you think were important enough to hide beneath centuries of stone? The true scale of Giza's mystery only becomes clear when you look beyond the pyramids themselves. For generations, the story told by the sand and stone seemed complete, a narrative of 3 royal tombs built for eternity. Yet a persistent whisper has always suggested there is more to the story, a hidden dimension to this ancient landscape. This whisper speaks of a lost hall of records, a legendary repository said to contain the advanced wisdom of a lost civilization, buried somewhere beneath the plateau. While that idea belongs to the realm of legend, modern science is revealing that the reality beneath our feet may be just as astonishing. Ground-penetrating radar and other sensing technologies have begun mapping the invisible, and what they reveal is not empty earth. Beneath the colossal paws of the Great Sphinx, scans suggest the presence of cavities and potential passageways. Within the Great Pyramid itself, researchers have identified a significant void, a large empty space behind the distinctive chevron stones on its north face. These are not rumors but measurable anomalies, blank spots on the scientific map. The immediate question, of course, is what they are. Skeptics offer reasonable explanations. Perhaps these are natural fissures in the bedrock, or simply structural spaces designed by the builders to relieve the immense weight of the stone above. But the consistency and placement of these features raise other possibilities. Could they be purpose-built chambers sealed away at the time of construction? Might they be part of a network, a subterranean connective tissue linking the Sphinx, the pyramids, and other monuments into a single grand design? The debate between cautious geology and bold archaeology is what keeps this mystery alive and fiercely debated. What is becoming undeniable, however, is the sheer sophistication it implies. The ancient builders did not just pile stone upon stone, They engineered their monuments with an understanding of deep space, both above and below. They may have constructed a hidden companion to the visible world, a sealed underworld of chambers whose purpose we can only guess at. To stand at Giza today is to stand atop a riddle, a testament to a level of planning we are still striving to fully understand. But the story of hidden chambers is not confined to the sands of Egypt. In the heart of the Eternal City, a different kind of underworld waits, one that speaks not of a single grand plan, but of centuries of relentless transformation. Beneath the modern traffic and the footsteps of tourists in the Roman Forum, there exists a shadow metropolis, a mirror city stacked in layers of time. This is the subterranean Rome most visitors never see, a world of catacombs that wind for miles, of secret meeting places for early believers, and of buried villas with their faded frescoes still clinging to the walls. Perhaps most impressive of all is the Cloaca Maxima, the Great Sewer, an engineering marvel begun over 2,500 years ago. This was not just a drain, it was a statement of control, a channel that literally carved order from the marshy chaos, allowing the city above to rise. These spaces were never truly abandoned. Instead, they became the foundation, both physical and spiritual, for everything that followed. The most breathtaking example of this is a church just a short walk from the Colosseum. The Basilica of San Clement is like a geological core sample of Roman history, but made of brick, mortar, and faith. You enter a beautiful 12th century church with its shimmering golden mosaics. Descend one level and you find yourself in a modest 4th century church, built when Christianity had just emerged from the shadows. Go down again, and the air grows cooler, the space darker. Here is a 1st century temple to the god Mithras, complete with a stone altar where initiates would share a ritual meal. And beneath that, the rumble of ancient water leads you to the foundations of a Republican-era villa, its walls blackened by a great fire. This is not a collection of separate sites, it is a single, continuous story. Each generation did not simply erase the past, they built directly upon its bones, their new sacred spaces quite literally supported by the old. The hidden city was not a forgotten relic, it was the active, necessary root system for the living city above, a permanent record of adaptation written in stone, darkness, and silence. Yet for every structure that rises from the ground, its true foundation is often hidden in the earth. 1,000 miles from Rome, another monument demonstrates this principle on a breathtaking scale, its visible glory entirely dependent on a world kept deliberately in the dark. The Hagia Sophia in Istanbul is a masterpiece of light, its vast dome seemingly floating on a golden haze. For 1,500 years, this architectural marvel has symbolized divine connection and imperial power, a testament to human ambition reaching for the heavens. But to focus only on the dome is to miss half the story. The building's immense weight and its very survival through earthquakes and sieges required an equal and opposite engineering feat below. Beneath the polished marble floors and intricate mosaics lies a damp, echoing realm of vaulted brick and shadow. This is not a single chamber, but a labyrinthine network of cisterns, substructures, and tunnels. The most famous of these is the nearby Basilica Cistern, an underground palace of water held aloft by a forest of columns. But within the Hagia Sophia's own footprint, secret passages are rumored to wind through the darkness. Historical accounts suggest these were used by emperors to move unseen from the palace to their gallery, or by clergy to access ceremonial spaces privately, away from the public gaze. In recent years, careful restoration work has peeled back another layer, granting researchers limited access to long-sealed areas. One such space is the Nymphaeon, a deep, well-like structure whose exact purpose sparks debate. Was it a ceremonial fountain, a simple water source, or something more? These hidden spaces were the building's vital organs. They managed crucial water supplies, distributed the colossal structural load, and provided a private circulatory system for the powerful. They remind us that the luminous achievement above could not exist without this functional, shadowy counterpart below. The Hagia Sophia's enduring mystery is not just in its light, but in the deliberate, necessary darkness that makes that light possible. But if Rome and Hagia Sophia show us how hidden spaces supported a living city, the ruins of Teotihuacan present a far more profound and mysterious relationship with the underworld. This vast ancient metropolis, the city of the gods, lies silent under the Mexican sun, its immense pyramids and the long avenue of the dead telling a story of colossal public ceremony. For decades, archaeologists believed they understood its sacred geography, a grand stage set for rituals performed under the open sky. That understanding was completely rewritten in the year 2003. During a routine survey near the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, heavy rains caused a small sinkhole to open in the earth. Peering into that unexpected opening, researchers saw not solid ground, but a dark, vertical shaft leading straight down. They had accidentally discovered a tunnel, one that had been deliberately and meticulously sealed with boulders over 1,800 years ago. This was not a forgotten cellar or a functional water channel. It was a passage that had been created with immense care, filled with a staggering array of offerings, and then completely closed off from the world above. To explore it, scientists employed robotic cameras, sending them down the narrow, debris-filled shaft. What they revealed was a carefully engineered journey into the earth. The tunnel ran for over 100 meters, ending in a series of underground chambers. Along its length, the floor was dusted with powdered pyrite, which would have glittered like a field of stars in the light of a torch. The walls were embedded with artifacts, and the air held the remnants of ancient rituals. This was not a construction project. It was a deliberate, decades-long ceremony of deposition. The people of Teotihuacan hauled thousands of objects into this darkness, from pottery and animal remains to exquisite sculptures and symbolic weapons, laying them down over generations before the final, permanent seal. The culmination was found in the deepest chambers, a space filled with some of the most potent symbols of the era, including large pyrite mirrors, believed to be portals to other realms, and elegant statues carved from jade. So what does this mean? Scholars now believe this tunnel was far more than a storage room. It was a meticulously crafted recreation of the underworld itself, a symbolic conduit to the realm of ancestors and deities. For the rulers of Teotihuacan, legitimacy did not come from towering above the people, but from demonstrating a profound connection to what lay below. The most sacred act of power was a descent, a journey into the dark heart of the earth to commune with the sources of creation and emerge reborn. At Teotihuacan, true authority was rooted not in the sky, but in the sacred darkness, forever changing how we see the silent pyramids towering above it. This silent conversation with the past demands a new kind of language. To listen to the whispers beneath the stone, we can no longer rely on shovels alone. The quest to map these hidden worlds without disturbing a single grain of historic dust has given rise to an invisible toolkit, a suite of technologies that let us see through the earth itself. It begins with tools like ground-penetrating radar. Think of it not as a radar for finding planes, but as a delicate sonar for solid ground. It sends pulses of radio energy into the earth, listening for the echoes that bounce back from changes in density. A solid wall of granite returns one signal, while an empty space behind it returns a different one, painting a ghostly image of what lies within. In dense jungles where centuries of growth have swallowed entire cities, another technology takes over. Light detection and ranging, or LiDAR, is deployed from aircraft. It fires millions of laser pulses at the forest canopy, and by measuring the time it takes for each pulse to return, It can digitally strip away every leaf and vine, revealing the precise contours of the ancient ground below, exposing forgotten pyramids and roadways hidden for 1,000 years. But perhaps the most profound tool in this new arsenal comes not from Earth but from the depths of space. It is called muon tomography. Every single moment, our planet is being gently bombarded by cosmic rays, subatomic particles created in distant stellar events. Among these are particles called muons, which rain down through the atmosphere and pass through solid matter, much like a medical X-ray passes through your body. By placing special detectors inside or around a large structure, like the Great Pyramid, scientists can count these muons as they pass through. Where stone is dense, fewer muons get through. Where there is a void, more muons are detected. Over months of data collection, this cosmic rain creates a detailed density map, a shadow image of the interior. It was this very technique that confirmed the existence of that large, mysterious void within the Great Pyramid, a discovery made without drilling a single hole. These methods are complemented by others, like electrical resistivity tomography, which measures how easily the ground conducts electricity, and seismic surveys, which listen to echoes from sound waves sent into the earth. Together, they form a symphony of non-invasive sensing. The goal is no longer to dig and hope, but to first build a precise, three-dimensional map of the unknown. This transforms archaeology from a field of educated guesswork into one of targeted, scientific investigation. We are learning to read the secrets of the past by listening to the echoes of radio waves, the patter of cosmic rain, and the silent resistance of the earth itself, ensuring that these fragile legacies remain intact for the stories they have yet to tell. The cosmic rain of muons and the silent echoes of radar give us a picture, but they cannot tell us the why. Why would a civilization invest immense labor and resources to carve spaces they intended to seal away or keep hidden? The motivations are as varied as the cultures themselves, and understanding them is the key to transforming a mysterious void into a meaningful story. Often, the primary reason was sacred. For many ancient peoples, the earth was not just dirt and rock. It was the realm of chthonic deities, ancestors, and the very source of life and death. Building downward was an act of profound spiritual connection. The deep, sealed chambers beneath pyramids in Egypt or the ritual tunnel at Teotihuacan were not mere basements, they were symbolic portals. They were carefully constructed interfaces with the underworld, places where the living could perform ceremonies believed to influence the cosmos or commune with divine forces. This was architecture as a bridge between realms. Alongside the sacred was the supremely practical need for security. In a world without vaults or digital backups, how did you protect a kingdom's most precious assets? You buried them. This drive likely fueled legends of lost libraries, like the famed collection of Alexandria, which some stories suggest had subterranean annexes to safeguard its scrolls from fire or conflict. It certainly explains the hidden treasuries within palaces and the secret compartments in temples designed to shield ritual objects from theft or desecration. The earth itself became the ultimate strongbox. Then there was the genius of environmental engineering. Before modern refrigeration or climate control, the subterranean world offered a naturally stable environment. The temperature remained cool and constant, perfect for storing grain, wine, or delicate artifacts. In places like Cappadocia in modern Turkey, entire underground cities were carved, not for ritual but for shelter and survival, providing safe havens for communities during times of conflict or harsh weather, complete with ventilation shafts, water wells, and chapels. Strategic advantage provided another powerful motive. From the cryptoporticus, the covered passageways of Roman villas that allowed owners and guests to move unseen, to the secret tunnels in medieval castles used for surprise attacks or escape during a siege, these were tools of power and preservation. They enabled the covert movement of people, messages, or troops, turning the very ground beneath an enemy's feet into a vulnerability. Finally, and perhaps most fundamentally, many of these spaces were simply foundational. When you wish to erect a colossal structure on soft, marshy, or uneven ground, you must first create a firm base. The immense substructures beneath buildings like the Hagia Sophia or the foundational grids under Roman temples were engineering solutions, hidden platforms of stone and rubble that distributed weight and prevented collapse. They were the invisible roots that allowed the visible tree to reach for the sky. So when our non-invasive tools now detect an anomaly, this understanding of purpose guides our interpretation. Is the void geometrically precise and aligned with celestial points, suggesting a ritual chamber? Is it located near a known treasury or archive? Does it connect two distant points, hinting at a passageway? Or is it a vast, uniform layer, indicating a foundational platform? The why gives shape to the what. It reminds us that our ancestors were not just stacking stones, they were solving complex problems of spirit, security, society, and stability. Their hidden architecture was always an answer to a pressing human question, a silent dialogue between ambition and the enduring earth. This symbolic power was the true blueprint for the hidden world. For ancient builders, a tunnel was never just a hole in the ground, and a sealed chamber was far more than a room. They were physical manifestations of a deep and universal story, a story about where we come from and where we go. Across continents, the earth below was consistently seen as a place of profound duality, both a womb of creation and a realm of final rest. It was the source of life-giving water and nourishing crops, yet also the silent home of ancestors and chthonic deities. To construct a monument that reached into this realm was to anchor human ambition directly to the cosmic order. In ancient Egypt, this concept was articulated with stunning complexity in the Duat. This was not a simple underworld of shadows, but a detailed, perilous landscape the sun god Ra was believed to navigate each night in his bark, overcoming chaotic forces to be reborn at dawn. The pyramids and their subterranean passages can be read as architectural maps of this journey. The long, descending corridors might represent the gods' descent into the earth, while the sealed burial chamber itself could be the still, secure place of regeneration, the moment before the triumphant sunrise. Half a world away, in the jungles of Mesoamerica, a parallel symbolism thrived. There, caves and sinkholes, known as cenotes, were considered the literal mouths and tears of the earth deity. They were portals to Xibalba, the watery underworld. The man-made tunnel beneath the Temple of the Feathered Serpent at Teotihuacan makes perfect sense within this belief system. By constructing an artificial cave, filling it with glittering pyrite dust to mimic a starry sky, and depositing sacred offerings along its path, the priests and rulers were not hiding treasure, they were building a functional portal. They were creating a conduit where the spiritual energy of the underworld could be channeled upward to empower the city and its leaders. This practice of making myth tangible is what separates a hidden space from a sacred one. Architects and priests collaborated to design environments that physically mirrored their cosmology. A central chamber might symbolize a sacred mountain at the center of the world. A winding tunnel could represent the twisting path of a mythical river. By moving through these spaces in ritual, participants weren't just walking through rooms, they were reenacting the journeys of gods and ancestors. The space itself became ritually activated, a battery of symbolic meaning that connected the daily human realm with the timeless divine. The stones were charged with intention. So when we today detect a void with our technology, we are not just finding an empty space. We are finding the physical echo of a story, a carefully crafted set designed for the most important drama a culture could conceive, the ongoing conversation between the living world and the source of all power. The silence within those chambers once resonated with chants, the darkness once flickered with torchlight and belief. To understand the hidden architecture is to finally hear the question they were built to ask: how do we touch the divine? The shimmering dome of Hagia Sophia was not the only marvel that kept Constantinople alive. For every ounce of imperial splendor displayed above ground, an equal measure of practical genius was invested in the world below. The city was a fortress perched on a peninsula, a position of great strategic strength but with a critical vulnerability: a lack of reliable local freshwater. The Byzantine solution was not a simple one. It was an act of monumental foresight, a hidden circulatory system built to make the city siege-proof. This was the vast, secret network of underground cisterns. While the Basilica cistern is the most famous, with its hauntingly beautiful columns reflected in still water, it was just one of hundreds. Beneath the streets and houses lay a parallel, submerged city of reservoirs. The Beinberdiak cistern, whose name means 1001 columns, and the equally impressive Theodosius cistern were just two of these colossal chambers. They were not crude tanks. Entering one today, you walk into a silent, cavernous space that feels more like a submerged cathedral than a utility. Forests of marble columns, many repurposed from even older Roman temples, rise from the dark water to support magnificent vaulted brick ceilings. This was infrastructure elevated to an art form. Each column, each arch was a statement. The Byzantines were not just storing water, they were building a legacy in stone, quite literally recycling the grandeur of the classical past to support their Christian empire. The system's genius was in its connection. These hidden cisterns were the endpoints of mighty aqueducts like the Valens Aqueduct, which channeled water from springs miles away in the Thracian forests. During peace, the network filled, a slow accumulation of security. When enemy armies laid siege, as they often did, the city gates could close, and Constantinople could survive, not for days, but for months, even years, on this buried treasure. The water was a form of liquid wealth, more valuable than gold in a time of crisis. It meant a population would not thirst, hospitals could function, and the morale of defenders would remain unbroken. This hidden network was the ultimate expression of civic foresight. It turned a geographic weakness into an unconquerable strength. To stand in the cool, echoing silence of the Theodosius cistern today is to understand a profound truth about this civilization. Their grandeur was not an accident. It was a deliberate creation, built as much upon the pragmatic, hidden marvel of brick and water as it was upon faith, law, or imperial ambition. The true pillars of their empire were these, standing in the dark, holding up the world. A powerful story can often outlast the stones themselves. When we stand before a silent monument like the Sphinx, its riddles seem to invite grand explanations, from lost continents to otherworldly architects. The line between a captivating myth and a testable historical hypothesis is where this entire field finds its greatest tension and its most important discipline. Consider the enduring legend of a hall of records, said to lie beneath the Sphinx's paws. This idea, woven from 19th century mysticism and 20th century psychic readings, proposes a hidden library containing the wisdom of a lost civilization like Atlantis. It is a profoundly compelling narrative, speaking to our desire for forgotten knowledge and cosmic connections. Yet after decades of geological surveys and even limited excavations around the Sphinx, no such chamber, no such archive has been found. The evidence simply isn't there. This doesn't make the story meaningless, but it does place it firmly in the realm of cultural myth, a modern legend that reflects our own fascination with ancient Egypt more than its reality. Now contrast that with the tunnel beneath the Temple of the Feathered Serpent at Teotihuacan. For years, local lore and scholarly suspicion hinted at something significant below that pyramid. It was considered a speculative theory, a maybe. Then, in 2003, the rain opened a sinkhole, robotic cameras went in, and legend became documented, measurable fact. The difference between these two cases is the methodology that separates speculative fantasy from historical discovery. Responsible archaeology does not dismiss myth out of hand. Instead, it treats persistent stories as valuable cultural clues. Why does a particular legend cling to a specific place? The tale of a hidden hall under the Sphinx may not be literally true, but its endurance could point to a deeper, symbolic truth the ancient Egyptians held about that statue as a guardian of sacred knowledge. The myth becomes a starting point for a question, not an answer. The rigorous work begins with non-invasive tools, ground-penetrating radar, resistivity surveys, muon tomography. These methods provide empirical data, not speculation. They map anomalies, measure densities, and create a ghost image of what might be there. Only then, with that scientific map in hand, can a targeted, careful investigation begin. This balanced approach is what keeps the search for hidden chambers so vitally exciting. It allows for wonder, for the grand possibility, while being anchored in the slow, meticulous work of evidence. It ensures we are uncovering the authentic, astonishing past, not just projecting our own dreams onto it. The real story waiting in the dark is always more surprising than any fiction we could invent. The moment a hidden chamber is confirmed, the real challenge begins. We stand at a threshold, holding tools that could unlock a secret untouched for millennia, yet we must also confront a profound responsibility. This is the central ethical dilemma of modern archaeology, a tension between the compelling urge to know and the solemn duty to preserve. Intrusive excavation, the act of physically breaking into a sealed space, is not a neutral act. It is an environmental shock. A tomb or a ritual chamber that has been closed for centuries creates its own delicate microclimate. The temperature, humidity, and even the chemical composition of the air inside reach a fragile equilibrium, one that has perfectly preserved wood, textiles, pigments, and organic materials that would otherwise have turned to dust. The moment a modern drill breaches that seal, outside air rushes in, and that preservation environment collapses in an instant. We might gain a breathtaking artifact, but we could lose 100 others to rapid decay, erasing information we never even knew was there. This is why some of the world's greatest known sites remain deliberately untouched. The most famous example is the mausoleum of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. We know of the staggering terracotta army standing guard, but the emperor's actual burial mound, a vast pyramid-shaped hill, has never been excavated. Historical texts describe a subterranean palace with rivers of mercury and ceilings set with pearls to mimic the night sky. The potential for discovery is almost unimaginable. Yet, Chinese authorities and archaeologists have chosen a path of restraint. Current technology cannot guarantee the preservation of what lies within, so the decision has been to protect the site in its entirety, leaving its secrets for a future generation with gentler, wiser methods. This is not a surrender to mystery, it is an act of profound stewardship. It acknowledges that our cultural heritage is non-renewable. Once a site is dug, it is dug forever. The context and the unseen evidence are gone. Today's technology offers a powerful middle path, a way to satisfy our curiosity while honoring our duty. We can now map a void in 3 dimensions with ground-penetrating radar, analyze the air inside through microscopic boreholes to detect organic compounds, and use endoscopic cameras to peek into spaces no human hand will ever touch. We can study without invading. This changes the fundamental question. It is no longer simply, can we open it? The question becomes, should we? Sometimes the greatest act of respect for our ancestors and for the future is to listen at the door, to map the outline of the mystery, and then to step back. It is to acknowledge that some stories are not yet meant to be fully read, that the silent guardianship of the earth itself is part of their legacy. Our role is not just to uncover, but to protect, ensuring that the hidden chapters of human history remain intact for the readers of tomorrow. While the pyramids and temples sought to connect with the divine, other hidden worlds were built for a far more immediate purpose: sheer survival. In the heart of central Turkey lies a landscape that seems from another world, a high plateau of soft volcanic rock sculpted by wind and water into towering spires and surreal valleys. Here in Cappadocia, the earth itself was not just a foundation or a spiritual portal. It was the raw material for an entire civilization that learned to live within it. This is the realm of the underground cities, most famously Derinkuyu and Kaymakli. These are not single chambers or secret passages. They are vast, vertical metropolises, some descending the equivalent of 18 stories into the bedrock, a honeycomb of connected spaces that could shelter tens of thousands of people, along with their livestock and supplies for months at a time. To call them shelters is to undersell their complexity. They are masterclasses in subterranean urban planning. Winding stone corridors connect distinct districts, with separate levels for living quarters, communal kitchens, stables for animals, chapels for worship, and even wineries for producing wine. Ingenious ventilation shafts, sometimes stretching over 100 feet to the surface, provided a constant flow of fresh air to even the deepest chambers. Massive circular stone doors weighing hundreds of pounds could be rolled across key passageways to seal off entire sections from the outside world. This was not a temporary hideout. It was a fully functioning, alternative city designed for long-term habitation during times of relentless threat, likely from invading armies sweeping across the open plains above. What is most striking is the communal scale and the clear evidence of incremental growth. These cities were not built in a single generation by a central authority. They were expanded slowly, room by room, level by level, over centuries, perhaps even millennia, by a community investing in its collective security. Every new family might carve out their own space, connecting it to the existing network, creating a living archive of adaptation etched directly into the stone. This represents a profound inversion of the typical human story. Instead of building walls to keep threats out, these people chose to disappear, to retreat into the protective embrace of the earth itself. They turned their greatest vulnerability, their exposed landscape, into their ultimate strength. Life did not stop when they went underground. It adapted, finding new rhythms in the cool, dark silence. The underground cities of Cappadocia challenge our very idea of ancient urban life. They show that a city is not defined by its skyline, but by its community, and that community can thrive just as powerfully in the hidden world as it does in the light. Water is the quiet architect of civilization. While we marvel at temples and tombs, the most vital hidden networks were often those that carried not kings, but life itself. In landscapes where rain was a rare gift, survival demanded a conversation with the unseen water below. This led to some of humanity's most ingenious and enduring subterranean inventions. Consider the qanats of ancient Persia, a technology so effective it spread across continents. These were not crude wells, but gently sloping tunnels, carved with hand tools through miles of rock and soil. They began at the foot of a mountain where groundwater seeped from the slopes and channeled it downhill, entirely by gravity, to arid fields and thirsty cities on the plains. The construction was a masterpiece of communal effort and precise surveying, requiring vertical access shafts dug every 100 feet or so for excavation and maintenance. For over 2,000 years, these hidden veins sustained empires in the desert, a silent, flowing testament to human patience and understanding of the earth. Far across the world, in the humid jungles of the Maya, water posed a different challenge, one of overwhelming abundance that needed careful control. At a site like Palenque, the architects built their majestic temples atop a natural spring. But they didn't just build over it, they integrated it. Elaborate underground aqueducts were carved into the bedrock, channeling the constant flow of water through the heart of the city in a controlled, ceremonial cascade. This wasn't merely drainage, it was a way to harness the sacred power of the spring, turning a potential flood into a managed, spiritual asset that likely fed royal baths and ritual spaces. Perhaps the most poetic of these hydrological secrets are found in the stark desert of southern Peru. Everyone knows the Nazca lines, the vast geoglyphs etched into the dry pampa. But their very existence hints at a deeper mystery. How did the people who made them live here? The answer lies in the puquios. These are not tunnels, but elegant, spiral stonework shafts that plunge into the desert floor, accessing a hidden network of subterranean aquifers. They function like sophisticated straws, drawing groundwater to the surface and channeling it through stone-lined canals to nourish fields and settlements. The precise engineering of the puquios created micro-oases in one of the driest places on Earth, a hidden lifeline that made the famous lines above possible. To view these systems as merely plumbing is to miss their profound cultural dimension. Water was never just a resource, it was a divine gift. The alignment of a Kanat source spring, the ceremonial path of a Mayan aqueduct, the very act of tapping a hidden aquifer, these were sacred geometries. They were acts of partnership with deities of rain and earth, a technological prayer for balance. The hidden water network was therefore the most critical layer of all. It was the physical and spiritual root system that allowed the visible civilization to blossom. To understand how a society truly flourished, you must learn to listen for the sound of water moving in the dark, a sound that meant survival, stability, and a sacred connection to the world beneath their feet. The silent cities of the past have a modern counterpart, one where the hidden world is not a relic but a living, breathing secret. Beneath the elegant boulevards and glowing cafes of Paris, known to the world as the City of Light, lies its permanent shadow, a dark, silent empire of the departed. These are the famous catacombs. Their origin is surprisingly practical, born from the very stone that built the city above. For centuries, deep limestone quarries were excavated, leaving a fragile honeycomb of tunnels that eventually caused streets to collapse. At the same time, the city's cemeteries, overflowing and posing health concerns, demanded a radical solution. In the late 1700s, authorities made a monumental decision. They began the nightly transfer of remains from parish graveyards, moving the bones of an estimated 6 million individuals into the reinforced depths of the old quarries. But what could have been a mere repository became something strangely artistic. The bones were not dumped, they were carefully arranged. Skulls and femurs were stacked into neat, macabre walls, forming grim patterns and even arches, with plaques bearing poetic reflections on mortality. This organized, almost decorative approach transformed a public health project into a sobering monument, a place where the sheer scale of passing generations was made visible in a way that a crowded cemetery above ground could never convey. Yet the official, illuminated tourist path, about 1 mile long, represents only a fraction of this subterranean labyrinth. Beyond the gated entrances lies a vast, unmapped network, a true underground wilderness known only to a subculture of urban explorers who call themselves cataphiles, lovers of the catacombs. In these forbidden zones, accessible only through hidden manholes and secret passages, the story shifts from ancient history to modern myth-making. The silence is broken not by guides, but by the echoes of their own footsteps. The walls, far from the neat stacks of the curated ossuary, are covered in graffiti dating back centuries, from signatures of 18th century quarry workers to intricate murals and cryptic messages left by modern visitors. Explorers have discovered hidden rooms converted into fully equipped cinemas with projector screens and rows of chairs, elaborate sculptures carved from the soft limestone, and even fully stocked dining rooms, evidence of clandestine gatherings deep beneath the sleeping city. This site represents a fundamentally different kind of mystery. It is not about uncovering the intent of an ancient civilization, but about observing how human beings instinctively fill a void, both physical and cultural. When the original purpose of these quarries and ossuaries faded, the empty darkness did not remain empty for long. It was reappropriated, given new and unofficial life by successive generations seeking freedom from the rules of the world above. The catacombs became a canvas, a clubhouse, a refuge, and a challenge. They show us that subterranean spaces are never truly abandoned. They simply await their next chapter, rewritten by those drawn to the mystery of what lies in the dark. Here, the hidden network is not a static artifact to be studied, but an active, evolving narrative, a modern legend being written one secret expedition at a time. The darkness of a hidden chamber was more than an absence of light. It was a deliberate tool for transformation. For the ancient world's most secretive spiritual movements, the very act of descending into a confined, subterranean space was the core of a profound experience. Across the Roman Empire, followers of the god Mithras sought salvation not in soaring temples, but in small, windowless chambers called Mithraea, often built underground or designed to feel completely sealed from the world above. These spaces were intimate theaters for a powerful drama of initiation. The candidate would be led down into the symbolic underworld, a place of ritual trials and symbolic encounters. In that total sensory isolation, cut off from familiar sights and sounds, the psychological stage was set for a symbolic death of the old self, preparing for a rebirth into a new, enlightened state of being. This was not a public spectacle, it was a private, deeply personal journey, and the secrecy was the entire point. The knowledge gained, the visions seen, the bonds formed within that brotherhood were never to be spoken of outside the chamber's walls. Similarly, temples dedicated to the goddess Isis often contained hidden inner sanctums, accessible only to priests and initiates who had undergone lengthy preparation. The secrecy served a dual purpose. It protected the sacred mysteries from being profaned by the uninitiated, and it amplified the transformative power of the ritual itself for those who were deemed ready. When you step into a reconstructed Mithraeum today, the first thing you notice is not grandeur, but intimacy and deliberate separation. The world outside vanishes. You can understand physically how this environment was engineered to create a profound shift in consciousness, a resetting of one's place in the universe. This need for sacred secrecy extended far beyond the classical world. In medieval castles and monasteries, hidden rooms and passages served a more earthly, yet equally vital, purpose of concealment. A small, camouflaged chamber within a thick wall might safeguard a monastery's most precious relic, a fragment of bone or cloth believed to hold divine power, protecting it from theft or destruction during times of conflict. Elsewhere, such a space could host a clandestine meeting of plotters or a forbidden religious service, the stone walls guarding words as carefully as any treasure. The critical consequence of this intentional secrecy is a historical silence, because their existence was often an oral tradition, a secret kept within a closed group. These spaces rarely appear on any official map or architectural plan. Their discovery by archaeologists, therefore, is never just finding a room. It is the sudden recovery of a lost intimacy. It is overhearing, centuries later, the whispers of a private prayer, the quiet planning of a political maneuver, or the shared breath of individuals undergoing a life-altering rite of passage. Each uncovered secret chamber pulls back a curtain on the intensely personal dimensions of history, revealing where people went to become someone else, to protect what they held most dear, or to dream of a different world, far from the watching eyes of their own. The impulse to build in secret reached a fever pitch with history's most famous warrior monks. No other group is so inextricably linked to the idea of hidden chambers and forbidden knowledge as the Knights Templar. This powerful military order, born in the wake of the First Crusade, amassed immense wealth and influence across medieval Europe, only to be violently dissolved in the early 14th century. Their abrupt and dramatic end left behind a vacuum, one quickly filled with whispers of hidden tunnels, concealed vaults, and treasures smuggled away in the dead of night. While popular culture loves to paint them as guardians of the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant, the archaeological reality beneath their feet is, in many ways, just as compelling. At their headquarters on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, which they occupied for nearly a century, extensive subterranean structures did exist. They utilized and expanded upon ancient vaults known as Solomon's Stables, creating a vast underground complex capable of housing hundreds of horses and storing immense supplies, a logistical masterpiece for a military force. Across Europe, their preceptories or monastic fortresses often featured sophisticated water management systems with hidden wells and deep cisterns, ensuring self-sufficiency during a siege. The Convent of Christ in Toma, Portugal, stands as a magnificent example. Within its complex lies a mysterious, deep well, accessed by a monumental spiral staircase carved into the rock. This was not just a water source, but likely a place of ritual initiation, a symbolic descent into the earth echoing their spiritual trials. Adjacent to it is the extraordinary charola, a 16-sided oratory modeled on the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Its unique, circular design and thick walls have long fueled speculation about hidden passages or chambers within its very foundation, spaces where secret ceremonies or protected relics might have been kept. The fascinating truth is that these confirmed, functional spaces provided the perfect physical canvas for legend to flourish. When the order was suddenly crushed, the unanswered questions about their wealth and their private rituals naturally flowed into the empty spaces they left behind. That deep well in Toma became a potential hiding place for lost treasure. Their underground stables in Jerusalem transformed into a mythical repository for sacred artifacts they may have discovered during their tenure on the Temple Mount. The Templar mythos is a powerful case study in how history and architecture conspire to create enduring mystery. The aura of a secretive, powerful, and persecuted group permanently fused with the stone they built with. Every vaulted cellar, every hidden well, became a potential clue in a puzzle that stretches from documented military history into the boundless realm of conspiracy. Their real legacy may not be a map to a golden treasure, but a masterclass in how the human imagination will always fill the silence left by a vanished power, weaving fact and folklore into an inseparable tapestry. The stone itself often whispered the first idea. Human ambition did not impose itself upon a blank slate of earth, but rather engaged in a profound dialogue with the geology beneath their feet. The choice to build down was rarely arbitrary. It was a response to an invitation written in the very bedrock. In Cappadocia, the landscape presented a unique opportunity. The region is covered in a thick layer of soft volcanic tuff, a stone firm enough to hold its shape yet soft enough to be carved with simple hand tools. This wasn't just a place to dig a cellar. It was a material that allowed for the creation of entire inverted cities, with rooms, stairs, and ventilation shafts sculpted directly from the living rock. The geology didn't just allow for subterranean construction, it practically demanded it, offering a perfect balance of shelter and workability that above-ground structures could never match. 1,000 miles across the Mediterranean, on the islands of Malta, a different kind of stone told a different story. Here, the Globigerina limestone is relatively soft to quarry but hardens upon exposure to air. This unique property enabled the creation of one of the world's most astonishing sacred sites, the Hypogeum of Ħal Saflieni. Over centuries, beginning around 4000 BC, people used antlers and stone picks to carve downward, not into a hillside, but directly into the solid limestone plateau. They created a multi-level, labyrinthine sanctuary that descends over 30 feet into the earth, complete with ornate chambers, echoing oracle rooms, and sophisticated acoustic properties. The soft stone accepted their devotion, allowing them to shape an entire underworld of ritual from a single, unbroken piece of the planet. In the rose-red city of Petra, the Nabateans faced a landscape of sheer sandstone cliffs. Their genius was one of enhancement rather than excavation from scratch. They identified natural caves and fissures in the canyon walls, and then, with breathtaking precision, expanded and refined them. Using the cliff face as both a canvas and a structural element, they carved monumental facades like the treasury and the monastery directly into the rock, their interiors extending back into enlarged natural caverns. This method created tombs and temples that were not just built against the mountain, but were an inseparable part of it, their grandeur emerging from the geology itself. Sometimes the partnership was even more direct, where a natural feature was so powerful it required no major alteration, only consecration. On the Greek island of Patmos, a grotto nestled in the hillside is venerated as the Cave of the Apocalypse, where St. John is said to have received his divine visions. This space was not built, it was recognized. Early believers simply sanctified the existing cave, building a monastery around and above it to honor the spiritual power already inherent in that secluded, rocky chamber. This relationship between people and stone is the foundational layer of every hidden world we find. The geology answered the first and most practical question: what is possible here? It provided the canvas, the raw material, and often the initial inspiration. A culture's spiritual beliefs, their need for security or storage, then provided the compelling reason to begin the work. The result is architecture that feels less like construction and more like a collaboration, a sacred dialogue between human intention and the enduring body of the earth. These spaces succeed because they feel inevitable, as if they were always meant to be found there, waiting in the dark. This conversation with stone reaches its most profound expression not in a tomb or a fortress, but in a sanctuary of pure sound. On the Mediterranean island of Malta, a simple stone door in a quiet neighborhood opens onto a descent into a world of silence so complete it becomes its own kind of sound. This is the Hypogeum of Ħal Saflieni, a place that defies simple description. It is not a building with a buried basement, it is a building that is the basement, a temple complex carved entirely from the living limestone over 5,000 years ago. To walk its 3 descending levels is to walk through the very mind of a Neolithic people, a journey into their understanding of life, death, and the resonant power of the earth itself. The scale of the work is staggering, considering the tools were made of stone, bone, and antler. Over centuries, the community here did not construct upward, they sculpted downward, removing an estimated 2,000 tons of rock to create a labyrinth of chambers, halls, and corridors that mirror the temples they built above ground. This was architecture in reverse, a negative space given sacred form. The walls are smoothed with care, the ceilings are carved to mimic the corbelled vaults of their megalithic temples, as if they were bringing the architectural language of the surface world into the heart of the planet. One of the most breathtaking spaces is known as the Holy of Holies. Its walls are adorned with spirals painted in red ochre, a symbol found across prehistoric Europe that many scholars interpret as a representation of life, rebirth, or the journey of the soul. In this deep, silent chamber, the spirals seem to pulse with a quiet energy, a visual mantra etched in stone and pigment. But the true genius of the Hypogeum is not just visual, it is auditory. One small, oval-shaped side chamber has earned the name the Oracle Room. It contains a small, carved niche set at about the height of a person's face. When someone speaks into this niche, their voice is transformed. It does not simply echo, it amplifies and resonates, filling the entire chamber with a deep, vibrating hum that seems to come from the walls themselves. The effect is otherworldly, as if the stone itself is speaking back. Archaeoacoustics researchers who have studied the site suggest this was no accident. The builders likely discovered this acoustic property and then shaped the room to enhance it, creating a sacred technology. In a place of complete darkness, lit only by flickering oil lamps, this voice from the stone would have been a moment of pure magic, a direct line of communication with whatever spirits or ancestors were believed to dwell in the darkness. This profound integration of architecture, art, and acoustics points to a singular purpose. The Hypogeum was a liminal space, a threshold between worlds. It served as both a sanctuary for the rituals of the living and a final resting place for an estimated 7,000 individuals. The careful placement of these remains, often in collective settings, suggests a deep reverence and a belief in a communal journey beyond this life. For the people of prehistoric Malta, the earth was not a cold grave but a warm and resonant womb. By descending into this meticulously carved underworld, they were returning to the ultimate source. They were performing ceremonies in the very belly of their world goddess, using the amplified voice to speak to her and laying their loved ones to rest within her, ensuring a cycle of rebirth as perpetual as the seasons. The Hypogeum stands as perhaps humanity's earliest and most complete argument for the sacredness of the hidden world. It tells us that long before gold or grand monuments, what our ancestors valued most was a connection to the deep, resonant dark, a place where the very stone could be made to sing, and where every whisper held the weight of eternity. The map of this hidden world is not a relic of the past. It is a document being actively redrawn with every passing year. Modern archaeology has entered a golden age of discovery, not because we are digging more, but because we are learning to see through the earth itself. In the dense, seemingly impenetrable rainforest of the Amazon, airborne LiDAR technology has performed a kind of digital magic. By stripping away the blanket of green canopy, it has revealed the ghostly outlines of vast, geometric earthworks and sprawling settlements, complex networks of roads and mounds built by pre-Columbian societies on a scale once thought impossible. Among these revelations are tantalizing hints of subterranean features, possible tunnel networks or ceremonial pits that suggest these civilizations, too, engaged in a profound dialogue with the world beneath their feet. This technology is rewriting the history of an entire continent, proving that some of the greatest urban landscapes ever built have been hiding in plain sight, preserved not by stone but by roots and vines. Meanwhile, back at the Giza plateau, the quiet revolution of particle physics continues. The International Scan Pyramids project patiently collects muon data, those cosmic rays from deep space that pass through stone like a gentle X-ray. Each new data set refines the ghostly image of the pyramid's interior, slowly bringing its hidden architecture into sharper focus. The goal is no longer a dramatic treasure hunt, but a meticulous scientific census of the void, an effort to understand the monument's complete structural blueprint as its builders intended. And sometimes the discoveries are more intimate but no less significant. Just 2 years ago, in 2022, archaeologists using modern scanning tools in a much older Egyptian necropolis made a startling find. Within the 4,000-year-old tomb of Pharaoh Meru, a ruler from a forgotten dynasty, they identified a previously unknown chamber. This was not a grand hall, but a small, sealed space, a private annex to eternity that had gone unnoticed for millennia. It serves as a powerful reminder that our greatest temples are not the only places holding secrets. Even modest tombs can have hidden chapters. Each of these findings, from the vast to the minute, is a single piece of a global puzzle. The search now extends to legendary sites that have eluded discovery for centuries. In the rugged mountains of Mongolia, researchers employ satellite imagery and ground surveys in the ongoing, respectful quest to locate the final resting place of Genghis Khan, a site historical accounts suggest was deliberately hidden, its surface erased by rivers and trampled by horses to keep it secret forever. In the Yucatan, scientists continue to map the intricate web of underground rivers and cenotes beneath the Maya city of Chichen Itza, understanding that this sacred hydrological system was the true foundation of its power. What does this all mean for us right now? It means the story is unfinished. The next great revelation is not locked away in a dusty archive. It is waiting beneath a forest floor, behind a pyramid's casing stone, or at the end of a submerged cave. With every scan, every flight, and every new question, we add another line to the map of humanity's hidden half, proving that the most enduring mysteries are often the ones we have only just begun to see. This magnetic pull toward the hidden is far more than a simple interest in old stones. It is a fundamental part of how we think and feel, a psychological drive as ancient as the chambers themselves. At its core, a sealed door or an unmapped tunnel represents the ultimate forbidden knowledge. It is the unopened box, the locked diary, the whispered secret, and something deep within us is wired to want to know what is inside. This curiosity is a primal engine for survival and learning, pushing us to explore our environment, to understand the unknown, and to solve puzzles. In a modern world that often feels thoroughly charted by satellites and search engines, these physical mysteries offer a rare and tangible form of adventure. They are real-world puzzles we can actually touch, or at least dream of touching. There is a profound comfort in this kind of mystery. It reassures us that not all truths are immediately apparent, that history and the world possess genuine depth with layers waiting patiently to be uncovered. This idea that profound secrets might still exist literally beneath our feet counters a feeling of mundane familiarity. It suggests the story is not finished, the map is not complete. This powerful drive explains why the quest extends far beyond professional archaeologists. It is what compels a tourist to descend the cramped stairs into a catacomb, their heart beating a little faster. It fuels the novelist crafting a thriller about a lost library and inspires the filmmaker framing a shadowy corridor. We are all, in some way, responding to the same call. This universal fascination speaks to a deep human need for wonder. We crave the possibility that the world still holds astonishment, that there are discoveries left that can reshape our understanding of who we are and where we came from. By seeking these hidden spaces, whether through a history book, a documentary, or a journey to a distant ruin, we are participating in a timeless ritual. We are connecting with the endless human quest for understanding, a journey that has propelled our species from caves to the cosmos. The sealed chamber is not just a room, it is an invitation to that journey, a promise that there is always more to the story, and that the next great reveal might be waiting just behind the next stone. The most devastating loss is not of gold or stone, but of a voice. For centuries, the burning of the Library of Alexandria has stood as the ultimate symbol of that loss, a single event where it is said a significant portion of the ancient world's accumulated wisdom turned to smoke and ash. While the exact fate of its vast collection remains a subject of scholarly debate, the legend speaks to a universal human fear, the fragility of memory itself. This fear, in turn, gave rise to a powerful instinct to hide knowledge away. It is a pattern seen across continents and eras, where guardians of culture chose to bury their most precious texts quite literally, to save them from the chaos of the world above. The idea that the Library of Alexandria might have had secure subterranean annexes, or that a daughter collection was housed in the labyrinthine tunnels beneath the Serapeum Temple, is more than just romantic speculation. It reflects a logical, desperate strategy. When fire, war, or political upheaval threatened, where else could you safeguard something as delicate as papyrus or parchment, but in the cool, stable, and concealed darkness of the earth? This story of protective concealment finds its most dramatic proof in two other remarkable discoveries. In the dry cliffs near the Dead Sea, a young shepherd's tossed rock led to the finding of clay jars containing ancient Hebrew scrolls, texts hidden away during a time of intense conflict and preserved for 2,000 years by the arid desert air. On the other side of the world, along the Silk Road in China, a Taoist monk named Wang Yuanlu discovered a walled-up cave at the Mogao grottos of Dunhuang. Behind that sealed door lay a forgotten library, a time capsule containing tens of thousands of manuscripts, silk paintings, and textiles, meticulously stored and then hidden around the year 1000, likely to protect them from an advancing threat. For nearly a millennium, that cave guarded its secrets in perfect silence. These stories share a heartbreaking duality. The very act that saves knowledge in the short term, sealing it away in a hidden chamber, also places it in ultimate peril. The survival of the scrolls becomes a secret known only to a few. If those guardians fall, or if the precise location is lost to time, the library does not burn, it simply vanishes. It enters a state of suspended animation, waiting for a chance rediscovery that may never come. This is the tragic pattern. Knowledge is hidden for its own protection, only to risk being lost forever. This understanding adds a profound layer of urgency to the modern search for hidden chambers. When ground-penetrating radar suggests a void beneath an ancient temple complex, or when a cave system shows signs of deliberate sealing, one of the first hopes that flashes in an archaeologist's mind is the possibility of a textual discovery. It is the hope for a library not of gold but of clay tablets, papyri, or early codices. Such a find would not merely add to a museum's collection. It could illuminate an entire dark age, settle historical debates that have raged for centuries, or introduce us to lost philosophies, literatures, and scientific ideas. It would be the recovery of a voice long silenced, finally able to tell its part of the human story. Every sealed chamber, then, holds this dual potential. It is either a tomb for forgotten wisdom or a vault awaiting its moment to speak again. Water is the great preserver and sometimes the final veil. While we have explored chambers carved into rock and sealed beneath monuments, some of the most evocative hidden worlds are those claimed not by Earth but by the sea. Across the Mediterranean, the bustling harbors of antiquity now sleep in silent, sunken gardens. The grand port of Caesarea Maritima, an engineering marvel built by Herod the Great, has surrendered its outer edges to the waves. Where Roman ships once docked, fish now swim through the skeletal remains of a submerged breakwater, a colossal foundation of hydraulic concrete that defied the ocean for centuries. Nearby, the outlines of warehouses and administrative buildings are etched into the seabed, a ghostly blueprint of imperial trade frozen in time. This phenomenon repeats at Ephesus, where the famous harbor, once the gateway to Asia, slowly silted in and was abandoned, its maritime heart now lying inland and buried. And at Alexandria, parts of the legendary royal quarters, including Cleopatra's palace, are believed to rest beneath the modern harbor, their shattered columns and statues lying in the quiet gloom. These are not chambers in the traditional sense, but they are hidden worlds of a different kind. They preserve a moment of vibrant, daily life interrupted not by human hands, but by geological forces, earthquakes, and the slow, relentless rise of sea levels. Underwater archaeology here is like opening a time capsule that was sealed by nature itself. The layers of sediment protect wood, leather, and even organic materials that would have vanished on land, offering an astonishingly complete snapshot of commercial bustle, from the amphorae that held wine and oil to the personal belongings lost between ship and shore. This aquatic preservation adds a profound dimension to our search. It shows that the boundary between land and water was not just a geographical line, but a fluid frontier of human activity, now concealed beneath a gentle, constant cover. Yet the relationship with submerged spaces goes far beyond lost ports. In the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, a vast, hidden river system weaves through darkness. The Sac-Acton Cave Network, over 200 miles of flooded limestone passages, is one of the most significant archaeological sites in the world, and it is entirely underwater. For the ancient Maya, these were not caves to be avoided, but sacred cenotes, portals to Xibalba, the watery underworld. Within these crystal-clear, profound depths, archaeologists have found a breathtaking array of offerings, pottery, jade pieces, and ceremonial objects carefully placed over 1,000 years ago. The presence of skeletal remains in some areas points to the cenote's role in ritual, a place of communication with ancestors and deities. Here, the hidden architecture is not built by humans, but discovered and sanctified by them. The natural cathedral of stone, with its stalactites dripping like stone tears, became a temple. To navigate these submerged caves today is to glide through a liquid museum, where every object rests exactly as it was left, suspended in time and water, protected from the erosion of the surface world. This aquatic dimension completes our map of the hidden past. It teaches us that concealment comes in many forms, by deliberate burial, by structural secrecy, and by the patient, enveloping embrace of the sea. Whether it is a Roman harbor floor or a Maya sacred well, these sunken spaces guard a different kind of truth. They hold the echo of marketplace voices and the silence of profound prayer, reminding us that the frontiers we cross in search of the past are not always made of stone, but sometimes of endless, dreaming blue. The next chapter in this story will be written not by shovels, but by algorithms and microscopic sensors. We are moving from an era of detection into one of synthesis and simulation, where artificial intelligence will act as our guide through the invisible. Picture a future where a single command can cross-reference terabytes of data, from ground-penetrating radar and muon tomography to historical climate records and ancient architectural patterns. Machine learning models, trained on thousands of known sites, will begin to see patterns humans cannot. They will analyze the subtle gravitational anomalies around an unexcavated mound or the faint thermal signatures in a cliff face, predicting with startling accuracy not just if a void exists, but what its likely shape and purpose might have been. This intelligent analysis will transform random surveys into precise, surgical investigations, saving decades of fruitless digging and focusing our efforts where they are most likely to reveal something profound. Alongside this digital guide, our physical explorers are becoming smaller and more agile. Remember the robotic cameras sent into the narrow shaft at Teotihuacan. The next generation will be even more capable. Engineers are developing serpentine robots inspired by the flexible movement of snakes, designed to navigate the tightest, most debris-filled passages without causing a single stone to shift. These nimble machines could one day slip through cracks in sealed doorways, their fiber-optic eyes sending back real-time images from chambers no human could ever enter, preserving the sacred silence of the space while allowing us to witness its contents for the first time in millennia. Once a hidden space is mapped, we may never need to physically enter it to understand it completely. Advanced three-dimensional scanning will capture every contour, every brushstroke on a wall, every crack in the floor. This data will then feed into a three-dimensional printer, constructing a perfect, to-scale replica of the chamber in a laboratory halfway around the world. Researchers could walk through this physical model, studying its acoustics, its sight lines, and its structural stresses without ever setting foot in the fragile original. It democratizes access, allowing a global community of scholars to collaboratively study a space that must, for its own survival, remain sealed and untouched. Some of the most exciting advances address history's most heartbreaking losses. The texts turn to unreadable charcoal. In Herculaneum, a library of papyrus scrolls was carbonized by the volcanic eruption of Mount Vesuvius, their contents fused into brittle, blackened logs. For centuries, they were considered utterly lost. Now, a technique called virtual unwrapping is changing that. Using sophisticated three-dimensional X-ray imaging and artificial intelligence, scientists can digitally peel apart the layers of these scrolls, detecting the minute traces of ink and mapping the text onto a virtual surface. They are reading words that haven't been seen in 2,000 years without ever physically unrolling a single scroll. This technology promises to resurrect entire libraries from ashes, recovering voices and ideas we thought were silenced forever. As these tools become more powerful and, crucially, more affordable, the very geography of discovery will shift. The search will no longer be the exclusive domain of teams at world-famous pyramids. A local archaeology society, equipped with a drone and ground-penetrating radar software on a tablet, could survey a forgotten hillock in their region and identify a promising anomaly. This democratization of discovery means the next great find might not be in Egypt or Peru, but in an unassuming field in Central Asia or a forest in Eastern Europe. It promises a wave of micro-discoveries that will collectively rewrite regional histories on a global scale, filling in the blank spots on our map of the human past with millions of intimate, local stories. The future of subterranean archaeology is not about finding one legendary haul, but about listening to the quiet hum of the entire planet, finally learning to hear all the stories it has been keeping safe in the dark. The line between a documented void and a legendary vault is often blurred by the stories we tell ourselves. Hidden chambers have become a cornerstone of modern mythology, fueling narratives that range from the search for the Holy Grail to theories of ancient alien bases beneath the pyramids. Novels like Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code and blockbuster films such as Indiana Jones expertly weave threads of real archaeology into thrilling tapestries of fiction. This fusion does more than entertain. It captures the public imagination on a massive scale, transforming academic subjects into global adventures. For professional historians and archaeologists, this can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, popular portrayals often simplify complex research or present speculative ideas as settled fact, creating a frustrating gap between cinematic drama and the slow, meticulous reality of fieldwork. The public may come to expect instant, world-shaking revelations from every excavation, rather than the patient accumulation of data. Yet, this widespread fascination holds an undeniable power. It generates a surge of public interest that translates into vital support, funding for new technologies, and a renewed appreciation for cultural heritage. The challenge and the opportunity lies in channeling that raw curiosity. When someone watches a film about a lost ark, we can use that spark to guide them toward the true story of how non-invasive tools like ground-penetrating radar actually work, or the real-life discovery of a sealed tomb like that of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. We can transform the thrill of the fictional quest into a deeper respect for the scientific one. Perhaps most revealing is what these persistent modern myths say about us. Our enduring legends are rarely about finding ordinary storage rooms. They are about discovering lost utopias, libraries of forbidden knowledge, or evidence of advanced ancient technology. These are not random fantasies. They reflect contemporary hopes for forgotten wisdom that could solve today's problems or anxieties about our own place in history. The stories we invent about the hidden past become a mirror, showing us what we feel is missing or possible in our own world. The real treasure, then, might not be a glittering artifact in a dark room, but the enduring human need to believe that wonder still waits in the shadows, ready to change everything we think we know. A treasure map made of metal weights in a cave. Among the famed Dead Sea Scrolls, those ancient texts of parchment and papyrus found near Qumran, one object stands utterly apart. It is the copper scroll. Unlike the literary and religious works it was buried with, this document is a stark, practical list. Its text is not inked, but painstakingly hammered into thin sheets of the metal itself, a costly and durable choice for a message meant to last. And the message is a series of cryptic instructions. It describes where to find immense treasures, listing quantities of gold and silver, precious vessels, and incense hidden in a series of locations. The directions are maddeningly vague, referencing landmarks like a ruined aqueduct, a burial cave, a settling tank, and a staircase leading down. It speaks of tunnels, cisterns, and underground deposits. This is not a spiritual guide, it is an inventory for a hidden treasury, a ledger for a vault that has never been found. Most academic researchers view the scroll through a historical lens. They believe it is a genuine record created in a time of extreme crisis, likely just before the Roman destruction of the Temple in Jerusalem in the year 70. According to this theory, priests or temple officials, seeking to protect the sacred wealth from the advancing legions, documented where they secreted it away in the wilderness surrounding the Dead Sea. The copper was chosen precisely because it would not decay like parchment, ensuring the memory of the hiding places would survive the conflict. Yet, not a single item on its list has ever been recovered in an archaeological context. This gap between the detailed record and the complete absence of physical evidence is the core of the mystery. Is the scroll a literal, factual map, or is it a symbolic or ritual text, perhaps describing a spiritual treasure rather than a physical one? The unverifiable nature of its promises has fueled imagination for decades. It has spawned countless expeditions, from serious archaeological surveys to clandestine digs by modern fortune seekers, all lured by the prospect of solving history's greatest treasure hunt. The landscape itself seems to whisper of secrets. The area around the Qumran settlement, where the Essene community lived, is a labyrinth of natural caves and fissures in the stark limestone cliffs. Many of these caves show signs of human use, not just for storing scrolls, but for habitation and storage. Some researchers have identified features that could be interpreted as man-made tunnels or expanded chambers, though distinguishing natural erosion from deliberate excavation is part of the challenge. This terrain provides the perfect, plausible backdrop for the scroll's descriptions. A hidden tunnel here, a sealed cistern there, each could be the final resting place of a forgotten hoard. The copper scroll, therefore, represents a unique fusion. It is a legitimate archaeological artifact of immense historical importance, yet it functions in the modern mind as the prototype of every buried treasure legend. It connects the tangible, scholarly world of the Dead Sea Scrolls with the timeless, pulsing allure of a mystery waiting just beneath the surface. It asks us a compelling question: do we value it more for the light it sheds on a moment of ancient desperation, or for the thrilling, unfulfilled promise that somewhere in that arid wilderness, a staircase still descends into darkness, leading to a forgotten chamber sealed for 2,000 years? These shared patterns across continents form a silent language of stone, from the pyramids of Egypt to the shaft tombs of ancient China, and from the temple mounds of the Maya to the vast necropolises of the Mediterranean. A profound common thread emerges. Cultures that never met, separated by oceans and millennia, all chose to invest their greatest labor and artistry in building downward for their most sacred rites and final journeys. They oriented these spaces with the stars, aligned passages with solstice sunrises, and placed their honored dead in the deepest chambers, as if returning them to a primordial source. This is not a case of one idea spreading across the globe. It is something far more fundamental. It appears to be a universal human response to the very nature of existence, an architectural instinct written into our collective psyche. Consider the recurring motif of the tunnel as a passage. In the darkness of an Egyptian pyramid's descending corridor, in the long, glittering passage beneath the feathered serpent at Teotihuacan, and even in the symbolic journeys described in ancient texts from Greece to India, the tunnel serves a similar purpose. It is rarely just a hallway. It becomes a transformative conduit, a symbolic birth canal for spiritual rebirth or a perilous road for the soul's journey after life. The act of moving from light into profound darkness and, in ritual, back into light again, mirrors the most basic human stories of death and renewal, of planting a seed in the dark earth to await a new sprout. This shared symbolism suggests we are not just building what we see, but what we feel. The earth, in its silent, enveloping darkness, naturally evokes these deep concepts of origin, transition, and return. Then there is the powerful triad found in sacred sites worldwide, the connection of mountain, cave, and water. A pyramid is an artificial mountain, its peak reaching for the heavens, yet its heart is a hidden, cave-like chamber. A natural cave in a hillside becomes a temple, often with a sacred spring welling up inside it. For the Maya, the cenote was a water-filled cave, a direct portal to the underworld. In ancient Greek tradition, oracles often spoke from caves associated with springs. This combination is not a coincidence. The mountain represents aspiration, the axis linking earth and sky. The cave offers sanctuary, mystery, and access to the interior world. Water is the element of life, purification, and the subconscious flow of time. When these three elements are combined in a single site, either by nature or by human hands, they create a complete cosmic portrait, a map of the entire universe in microcosm. It becomes a place where all realms intersect, making it the perfect setting for communion with the divine, for rituals that seek to influence the cosmos, or for laying the departed to rest in a space that encapsulates the whole cycle of existence. What does this profound convergence tell us? It points beyond cultural diffusion to a shared human psychology rooted in our physical experience of the world. We are terrestrial beings. We emerge from the darkness into light. We depend on the soil for food, and we return to it in the end. The earth is our first mother and our final resting place. This universal biological and experiential truth seems to generate a universal symbolic language. Facing the mysteries of life, death, and the cosmos, disparate cultures arrived at eerily similar architectural solutions, not because they copied each other, but because they were all answering the same profound questions, using the same canvas of landscape and the same raw materials of stone, darkness, and belief. The hidden chamber, then, is more than a historical artifact. It is a mirror. It reflects a fundamental human understanding, carved into the bedrock of the planet itself, that the most important truths are often kept in the quiet, sacred dark, waiting for us to remember that we all, in some deep way, speak the same silent tongue. These silent chambers are the world's oldest libraries, their books written in stone, water, and shadow. Our journey through them reveals a simple, profound truth. History has a depth we are only beginning to measure, a dimension that exists both in the literal earth and in the human spirit. These hidden spaces are far more than architectural footnotes or forgotten basements. They are central to the story. They hold the key to understanding the true ambitions, the deepest fears, and the most intimate spiritual lives of the civilizations we study. From the glittering, star-dusted tunnel beneath Teotihuacan, built to channel the power of the underworld, to the vast, echoing cisterns beneath Constantinople that turned water into an unconquerable wall, every discovery peels back a layer of time. Each scan, each careful excavation, brings us not just closer to an artifact, but closer to the people. We feel the reverence of the priest placing an offering in the dark, hear the echo of the engineer testing a vault's strength, and sense the collective breath of a community seeking shelter deep within the earth. This is the real treasure, the recovery of human experience. Our tools grow more astonishing by the day, allowing us to map voids with cosmic particles and recreate lost chambers with perfect digital twins, all without disturbing the sacred silence. Yet, for all this technology, the greatest gift these mysteries offer may be something timeless, the enduring sense of wonder they spark within us. That feeling of curiosity, that pull toward the sealed door and the untold story, is what connects us across the centuries to those who built them. So the next time you find yourself walking across ancient stones, in a grand forum or atop a weathered pyramid, pause for a moment, feel the solid ground beneath your feet, and remember, you are likely standing atop a story yet untold, a chapter of the human saga waiting patiently in the quiet dark. If this exploration into the Earth's hidden memory has captivated you, consider delving deeper. Subscribe for more journeys into history's greatest enigmas, and let us know in the comments below which underground mystery should we investigate next.